morning, everyone. This is the July 20th, 2021 meeting. It's Tuesday of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. We have a quorum present and attending by virtual methods. I think this might be one of our last virtual meetings unless we go through a true hybrid and are able to do so. I know we all look forward to getting together in person at some point or not. But I appreciate all of your service. We've gotten really comfortable with the virtual environment, but we may have to go back to a more in-person meeting. We have some big shoes to fill, all of us, but we're really capable of filling them, and we acknowledge the great leadership that we've had the last year, our two primary officers and the others that participated. The litany says, in light of the virtual environment, try to be aware that you need to unmute, and also if you have technical problems, let the moderator know that you're having technical problems, and they'll fix it or help you fix it. Let's see, I think we might want to do the roll call now.
Okay, Gaston Williams.
Here.
Janine McAuliffe.
Here.
Katie Pate. Excuse me, Katie Pate.
Here.
Travis Bailey. Ian Dunn.
Here.
Sandy Feaster.
Here.
Vershay Height. Curtis Casefang.
Here.
Heather Leah. Harold Millette. Okay, I saw his lips move. He is here. John Reese.
I'm here.
And Susan Singer is excused.
All right, everyone. I think everybody's had a chance and received a copy of the agenda for today's meeting. It's July 20th, by the way. Any additions or corrections, and is there a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting? Motion made by Janine McAuliffe, or tied by Janine McAuliffe and Harold Millette, and seconded by Harold Millette and Jean McCullough. So indicate that the agenda is approved. The minutes for the June 15th meeting were likewise distributed in advance of this meeting as required, and they are attached to your agenda with a hyperlink. Anybody have any corrections or additions or known errors in the reporting of our minutes from June 15th? Seeing no heads nod, is there any objection in approving them without a vote? Signify by doing something. Raising a hand will work. Do you approve the minutes? Okay, formal motion by Jean McAuliffe, seconded by John Reese. All those in favor signify by doing something. All right, we got all ayes. It's unanimous, and Curtis is thinking about that second cup of coffee on the canoe ride.
Yeah, I have to abstain since I wasn't part of the meeting to know the minutes of accuracy.
Would it be good for you to approve a meeting you didn't attend, nor were you on the board of?
Right.
Just real quick, let me just extend a warm welcome to Curtis and Sandy and tell you a little bit about them. Curtis is probably more knowledgeable about the work we do together than the rest of us put together because of his history on with the organization. But he's worked as an architectural consultant in designing equipment, performing art centers and spaces throughout the United States and Canada, and indeed in parts of Europe. He has found a way, which I think will suit his work for us greatly, to deal with people who have been open or required to be open to constructive criticism and those adverse to it. So he's been in the battles of different things involving architecture and on a large scale. He participated locally in Raleigh's Arts Plan District Plan and Downtown Express Plan, and he also participated in the UDOs and the other comprehensive plans involving the city's preparations for those. He has supported computer meeting environments and needs some consulting with teams of 12 and 7 cities in 2 countries. He's, as I said, been a member for many years of the commission itself. He's been a COA member for a number of years. He has a BFA in theater design and technology from SUNY, New York. And then Sandy Feaster. She's drawn to us by a neat hook. It was a passion for preservation begun at an early age because of her great-grandmother. And her great-grandmother took her on around parts of the campus of Brainerd. Am I getting that close? Brainerd? That's Brainerd Institute in Chester, South Carolina. And that was one of the origins of her interest and curiosity and some of the things we're involved in preservation. She's also been fascinated with the architectural and material culture and pursued some formal training in different aspects of it. During her distinguished career, which is neat, she's been a mathematics professor. She's been a city administrator. And also her education has been touched by her work at Clemson University, Harvard University, and Duke University as she's extended her knowledge of throughout life. Welcome. We're glad you're here. We look forward to seeing you in a more less virtual environment someday. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Just briefly, some remarks. I kind of looked through your resumes and looking at the screen here. You're the perfect commission. You bring a plethora of talents, such a deep pool of knowledge. I'm just so impressed. And I just highlight a couple things. We have an individual on our commission working for Dell, the computer company, who worked on social media projects in Brazil, China, Costa Rica, France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, Panama, Slovakia, and the United States. So that's a pretty interesting thing involved in those issues. Another one of our commissioners, part of this, we're the perfect commission because of our diversity, is a professional archivist who's contributes to our community, the great fabric of our community, through Old Raleigh, OLDE Raleigh, which is well worth your paying attention to, and also looking for goodnightraleigh.com. Along his career, he's not only done these things, but sometime in the middle of his educational cycle, he took 3 bicycle trips across the length of France, Great Britain, and parts of Spain and Italy, while all the time being a college student. So he got lots of exercise and learned many things while he was a student. And I'm just thinking about bicycling across parts of Spain and other parts of Europe, and what a wonderful experience that was. One of our other commissioners has a master's in architectural and cultural identity and globalization from the University of Westminster in London, England, and graduated as the valedictorian. And I always love it when people are really at the top of their class and things. It means they work really hard and were inspired to do the work that she did to get her degree. We're blessed to have her. One of the commissioners is a superstar in social media. She founded and directs the social media campaign through WRAL as a community influencer in the Hidden History segment. And if you haven't hooked up into the Hidden History Raleigh Instagram and also the segments that are airing on things, you really miss something. She finds things like the underground, not just the underground, but the parts of Raleigh that are little known, ghost bars and other features that have been lost to a lot of our known history in the Raleigh area. She also said that her passion for volunteerism was inspired enough that when she was 23 years old, she co-founded Activate Good, which serves Wake County as a volunteer center and manages the 9/11 Day of Service campaign. This individual at 20-some years old hadn't achieved enough, so she wrote a novel to just fill in her spare time. We have many distinguished people with architectural training. One of the individuals on our commission is an architectural designer, and he happens to be familiar with the North Carolina Building Code, industry standards, and participated in review processes. With a master's degree of architecture from North Carolina at Charlotte, his education abroad includes a unique feature in Rome, Italy, where he examined the spatial use and scale of the Piazza della Rotonda. I got that close. And he also worked with the architectural history of Rome through the aqueduct, thermal baths, and fountains within the city. If it were permitted and we had funding for doing it, I think a road trip to Rome would be wonderful. We could get that person to help us appreciate some of the architectural features of Rome, and it's otherwise lends to a great tapestry to our work together. Also on the board, also on the commission is an individual holding an architectural bachelor's and master's degree, and she's been working in residential architecture for quite some time. She was born and raised in Oak Park, Illinois, in which she is known. She has been known to play in the front yard of Frank Lloyd Wright, who was a nearby neighbor in that section of the city where she was born and grew up. We have a linguist or a skilled writer who could outwrite most of us on any given day. She has a bachelor's of arts in English, GPA far above whatever I achieved ever in my academic career, approaching a 3.0, concentrations in technical writing, business and scientific writing. So she as a linguist, or I guess you'd call a linguist who puts it in writing, is a great asset for our organization. She's somewhat proficient in Spanish. She has a working proficiency in that, and she also is capable of rendering a fair amount of translation in the American Sign Language abilities. She's a fifth generation Raleighite, and she traces her family history back 5 generations. Finally, not finally, but next to finally, we have the professor. And the professor is that because he's been in architecture for over 25 years. He's had senior positions with Clearscapes for 10 years and 2 years with 2 other firms. And then he started his own practice in 2012. Before that, his education at the university, at Oklahoma State University, and studied abroad in architecture in China. So we would know him as the professor because he now teaches some courses and has an academic background. So it's always interesting to have someone who has an architectural degree and taught it or teaches it. Finally, maybe, we have an individual who lives in Oakwood and loves living in Oakwood and all it means to people who live there. She has a marketing consultant's education in grocery and packaged goods services. She's a can-do person, and her education is from Cal State University, Sacramento, the BA, and she has been on the board of CAM. So when I say that you guys and ladies and gentlemen are the perfect board, perfect commission, you really are. You bring diverse education, diverse backgrounds, and I think per capita, this group has more training, advanced degrees, and work life experience than almost any board I've ever been on or heard of. I mean, we have a lot to bring to the table collectively in collective decision making, and I thank you for volunteering to be on the commission. The unifying thread that went through all your resumes that was really kind of neat and stood out after I looked at them once, twice, was your spirit of volunteerism, and that's what brings us strength, and it certainly is something great that you can give to us, your time and effort. Having said all that, that was a welcome and introduction, and where are we?
Your new thing, the 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Every chair of every organization always has a great plan to do something. This is not necessarily one of them, but it was mine, so tolerate it. It's the 1, 2, 3. And the idea was one topic, 2 minutes, 3 slides. Every meeting will take one simple topic, 2 minutes, and 3 slides. No other parameters. So, Tanya, today's topic.
Okay, well, today's topic is RHDC names, which I think is appropriate since you've just, welcomed all the new folks. So we'll delve a little bit into the history of the commission. And here we go. They're not very attractive slides, but it's got all the information. So RHDC's been around a long time. It is the first sites commission in North Carolina before there were even any historic preservation laws at all. So initially, y'all were the Historic Sites Commission in 1961 when you were founded. And that is also when the 501c3 nonprofit status began. In 1973, under the state government reorganization and enabling legislation, you then became the Historic Properties / Districts Commission. And then that was with the anticipation that there were going to be historic districts, because initially it was just designation of individual landmarks. In 1975, you did start designating Raleigh historic districts, and you became the Historic Properties Commission with a subcommittee of the Historic Districts Commission. The 80s were a little bit tumultuous, or at least 1980 was. You had a couple of names. The Historic Properties Commission had gotten very large. I didn't look up the numbers, but it was a huge group. So there was a Historic Properties Commission and a Historic Districts Commission interim. And then at the end of September, your recommendation in City Council's agreement was that you would be the Historic Districts Commission with a number of subcommittees: sites research, COA, buildings and grounds, plaques, publicity, and publication. And then in 2011, the name had changed for the final time since then. The name was changed from the Raleigh Historic Districts Commission to the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. This was at the Commission's 50th anniversary rebranding, and still had 5 subcommittees, but the names were changed to what they are now. So you've got the Executive Committee, Nomination, COA, Community Awareness, and Research. And this is where we sit today in 2021. Ta-da.
Any quick questions within our 2-minute time frame? Next time, it'll be fair game for suggestions. One of them might be, how many historic districts and what are they? Historic type districts, we have a handful of different types of districts and recognitions throughout our city. It might be useful to do that, or we're all open. Janine and I are open to suggestions from any of the commissioners as to what you would like to see in the 1, 2, 3 agenda. So, rezoning case. Rezoning case for 410 Morrison Street. It's Z34-21.
Good morning, Chair.
Justin, this is
Matthew.
Colette. Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead, Colette.
well, I was just going to say for our new folks, when a rezoning application is going through the process, if it is located in a local historic overlay district, a National Register historic district, or a local landmark, it is sent to you all to review the application and provide a comment if you wish to. In board docs, we prepared a memo for you to look at that outlines the application as it stands now, provides you with some history, information about the structure, if there is one on site, and how it relates to the comprehensive plan policies and your goals. So that's just a very brief, quick introduction for our new folks. We always have the planning staff who is shepherding the case through their rezoning process here to explain the case to you. And we also invite the applicants to come and discuss the case with you as well. So that is what it will be happening here. And I guess, Matt, I'll hand it back to you.
Hey, thanks, Colette. And we can just get the slides up. We have a pretty straightforward request here at 410 Morrison Street. You can see it on the map on the right-hand side. It's a request to rezone 0.05 acres from an office mixed-use district with a 3-story height limit and a detached frontage designation. The site is currently also zoned with that HOD G, that's a historic overlay district, a general district for the Oakwood, historic Oakwood neighborhood. They're changing the zoning from OX to NX 3 with a detached frontage in the same historic overlay. So the historic district is remaining on the site. Essentially, under the existing zoning, the OX3 zoning, a single tenant can't occupy the entire building. And so the applicants, I believe, are on the line. Their intent is to purchase the structure and then operate a single business out of there. Basically, the OX district has requirements that prevent single occupancy for non-residential uses. And so to allow for a single occupancy, they need to go up one step of the zoning intensity ladder to NX, which would permit a broader range of retail uses, including those in a standalone structure, which is what they're after here. So you can go to the next slide. There's the site. You can see the city cemetery over on the right-hand side to the east, just between the blocks of East and Bloodworth Street, just east of downtown. And the next slide is the structure. You can see from the street, it's this one just behind those crepe myrtles. Pretty straightforward, like I said. The HOD zoning requires a certificate of occupancy for any changes to the structure. So the changes to the zoning, we'll leave it under your purview for those types of modifications. It'll just allow a broader range of uses to occupy the existing structure, essentially. And with that, I can take any questions.
Matt, Matt, just real quick, aren't there several of these homes in the area that are small nonprofits or other small business uses?
Yeah, and I mean, there is a lot of this older housing stock around the city in Oakwood and in other parts of the city where you have old residential structures that have been converted to commercial uses. I believe the building is currently occupied by, I believe it's a art studio, I think. But yeah, there are many houses just like this that are now used for commercial uses, and I believe that's what the prospective buyers are interested in doing as well.
Questions, John? Curtis? Harold? Ian? Janine? Katie?
No questions for me.
And Sandy?
No questions.
Gaston, this is Colette. I'm gonna jump in 1 second just to mention that any change to the property will require a certificate of appropriateness, a COA, rather than a CO.
So any change to the physical aspects of the property, right? Is the applicant online that wishes to speak to this for any reason?
I'm online, but don't need to explain any more than's been explained, but could answer questions if there are any.
And Colette, you're a assigned staff person, right? Or Matt and you?
Correct.
What action is needed, if any?
So if you would like to make a vote, and I think that since this is in the historic district, you should, in Oakwood, you should take a vote if you feel that the application is consistent with the relevant preservation comprehensive plan policies, then you can vote in support of the application. If there are any concerns that you have, you can choose to vote otherwise, but you should probably elaborate on those if you do have other concerns.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion that someone would offer, please? Janine?
Well, I was going to make a comment that I think staff put together a really nice summary with the relevant comprehensive plan policies that I think all are being addressed really well. So I guess the motion I might say is that we will, that RHDC this commission feels as though this application is acceptable with the noting that, I guess, what staff's memo is here, just kind of highlighting those points that they've made, because I think they did a good job summarizing that.
There's a motion that we, how positive do you want your motion to be? That we approve this in light of it meets the policies and other aspects of the planning.
Yeah, as this memo, I guess, if we can refer to that, or if we need to kind of put it in our own words, but just calling out those policy points that I think this addresses well.
Tanya Tully here, just to let you know, and I jumped in front of Colette because I can't see her. So what will happen with your vote, whether you're voting to recommend approval or whether you're not going to recommend approval, staff takes the staff memo and tweaks it up a little bit and turns it into your memo. So all of those points will be in there.
Okay.
It will just be reworded.
So the motion is that we approve the application incorporating the language of the staff's memo.
And that we recommend approval, yes.
Any second?
I'll second it.
It was seconded by Curtis. Case Fang? Any further discussions, questions, points to be raised? All those in favor signify by doing something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Votes complete and unanimous, please reflect on the record. Thank you very much. And applicant, thank you for participating in today's matter. On to case B, rezoning case 2812 Hillsborough Street. There may have been some developments in this matter. It's the title is 2812 Hillsborough Street, 6810 Bagwell Avenue, Z68-20, excuse me. Staff.
It's Colette again. So the applicants have requested additional time to respond to some of the case planners' comments on a variety of topics. So they would like to postpone the discussion to a later date.
So without objection, this matter will be postponed to a later date. Any objection to doing that? No. All right. Demolition by neglect. No cases are reported. Let's see. Recombinations and recorded plats. No cases or requests are reported. Right-of-way closures. Don't appear to be any pending. Seaboard Railroad Station is a discussion item. Did I miss anything else under the substantive matters? We're on to Seaboard. Is that where we are in the agenda? Looks like it is to me.
You're good.
Okay, so you'll know what this is for discussion, and we can have a brief discussion now and perhaps defer it off to an ad hoc committee or to community awareness particularly. There's been some concerns recently reported in some aspects of the community that Seaboard Railroad Station may be as a part of a package being considered for purchase, reuse, or use, or somehow as a property matter being brought to our attention that it may be being sold. So it's an unclassified, undesignated historic gemstone for the city, and we thought maybe we should get together a history of it, talk about it, and see what we can do to make sure that we keep our eyes on this historic aspect of our city. To that end, a summary of the history of Seaboard Station has been prepared by the parts of the Community Awareness Committee and Ian and others, and it's ready for distribution. It may have been incorporated into your materials. As a part of this, Ian managed to find some of the most wonderful black and white, predominantly photographs of the historic building as it was constructed, in quite a crowd for the day, and pictures of various individuals getting on and off the train, including caissons from various veterans being returned and other things, and children. I'm just throwing this out for a discussion. I thought maybe the matter might most appropriately reside in the Community Awareness Committee, but anybody who wants to participate part-time in that committee is welcome to do so, to develop, to develop our sense of appreciation and knowledge of the history of the Seaboard Station. It was an active railroad station. Any discussion about that? Is it okay with everyone that we defer this over to the Community Awareness Committee and maybe Ian out of the Research Committee to support it and let them develop a narrative and maybe some photographs to be used with the narrative to educate everybody about what Seaboard Station is? Most of the people who are my age or older didn't really know it was a railroad station. I always thought it was a Logan's Trading Company forever, because I moved here and it was Logan's Trading Company.
John's raised his hand.
Yes, sir.
Has this property obviously is not on the Raleigh Historic Register. Is this part of the process that we're going to discuss to put it on the register?
I think that would be the logical extension. I don't think it has any known designation for registration in any historic sense. I don't think we're there, and I think we should probably consider being proponents of that. It's a gem. I mean, not just architecturally, but every city like Raleigh's that's grown enormously beyond the founding person's expectations has something like this, and this is symbolic for many reasons. We have a fairly significant railroad presence here. We have tracks cross east, west, north, south here, and the railroad stations were the airports of their time.
One of the things I'd like to add to the, because I read through the summary for the station, which some of it I didn't know, but this was built during segregation days. So one of the reasons why that station has two different entrances is that one was for blacks and one was for whites. And that's very historically significant.
Yeah, I think all of y'all, I know you're busy, but you might dig back. I think it's straighten me out if I'm not. It's attached to the agenda items now. It's also available as a separate email if you want more direct. I think there's a link, right, Tanya?
Yes, yeah. So Gaston, yes, the summary that you provided was PDF'd and is on the agenda in board docs. And I was going to add that if the commission decides that Raleigh Historic Landmark designation is a path you want to pursue, the first step, the next step besides learning about the history would be to have somebody reach out to the property owner, engage interest. Because while excuse me?
Is that usually staff or commission?
No, that would be a commissioner. That would be a commissioner. I mean, we've sent letters in the past, but I think something, depending on what you think the level of urgency is, a phone call or a meeting may be the way to go. That's up to you. Because while there is no legal requirement that there be owner consent to historic landmark designation, by policy that is not something that that's generally done.
Okay, and we probably haven't ever had a situation where something is clearly a historic significance to a city in which the owner is resistant. Doesn't mean we can't push forward if we deem the overall interest of the many outweighs the will of the few, or whatever you want to call it, using Star Trek euphemism.
Right, and ultimately it would be city council's decision whether to designate, and y'all would also need to choose whether or not you want to expend your funds to write a report.
Gotcha.
To hire somebody to write a report.
Well, we don't take a formal action. If something pops up that's more urgent than what we know about right now, we'll alert the commissioners. And if any of you didn't get the link to the photographs that Ian was able to locate and others were able to locate, let us know. And we would like you to get those. They may be a little dense. I don't know whether they work through the link. Jean? Yeah.
I was going to mention, I did not, I may have overlooked it, but I don't recall seeing photos. I'd really love to, maybe that could be sent to, at least to me again, if everybody else has seen it.
Okay.
And I will volunteer to be involved in if there's an ad hoc committee for this.
Okay. Janine, why don't you and I, if nobody objects, why don't you and I team up to go visit Robert Logan? And I know him. I mean, I know the business too. And I'll be back next week, a week from yesterday, and we'll work together and go visit him and take on that task. So, and then report back to the commission. Ian, I guess the best way, the photographs that you were kind enough to send me links to, I can send those links to the commissioners and the staff, right? It's just,
Yeah, I sent out the link to everyone that I thought to send it out to. Janine, I did send it to you. I'm looking at it right now. I sent it on last Friday, and it's got a link in it that goes to our file share site, the State Archives file share site. So the pictures didn't pop up, but they're there.
and so really, I know y'all got tons going on in your busy days, work lives and personal lives, but take a moment. The history's only a page and a half or so. It's a beautiful narrative. It's like it's a beautiful piece of prose that was written predominantly by Ian. And take a peek at the photos. They're kind of neat. So. Any other questions? We'll move forward on the agenda to the Lustron House. Hearing nothing.
I'd like to suggest that we refer to the research committee just to come up with a point of view on designation and its current condition and whether it would actually meet the criteria to be designated given any kind of changes that have happened to it.
So why don't we spring from that, Curtis? We'll ask the research committee to work on that aspect in coordination with the community awareness committee to work on the narrative and the photos, just to make sure they're in a package that's distributable, usable, shareable. And those two prongs will lead us to a place we need to be to make future decisions.
Sounds good.
About the effort. Yes, John.
I'm kind of in the same boat with Janine, Ian. I don't know if it got sent to me or not, but I just checked my email. I don't have anything from you on that. I'm sorry.
Well, let's do this. Let's just resend it, and then you'll have it fresh. And if you don't have it in the next hour or two, just let one of us know, and we'll dig our copy up and make sure it gets to it.
I'm looking at the email, John, and I did actually not send it to you. I apologize. I'll send it to you as well, Curtis, and Sandy. I didn't send it to either of you. I think those are the only commissioners I missed.
It's an email well worth getting twice. Okay. I think you'll be tickled. I mean, I don't get all giddy about some of these historic things as much as I thought I would, but this one is, I think it's let me tell you the secret. My grandfather on my mother's side was a railroad engineer, and I have a childhood memory of going as a toddler to Main Street Station in Richmond, Virginia, and my grandfather getting down off the engine in his uniform and big black boots and hugging me. So I have an emotional attachment to railroads. So just to tell you. Lustron House. Tanya? You still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I can.
Why don't you have the pleasure?
Okay.
What's this good news?
Sure. Thought you were going to do this one, but that's okay. So the Lustron House is, for those of you who are new to the commission, is a all steel prefabricated house that the city and RHDC and Preservation North Carolina cooperated on to relocate from Old Buffalo Road, 7 miles-ish, to 314 Haywood Street. That was in the fall of 2017, and we have been We had it placed on a new foundation and we have been trying to sell it. It is mostly disassembled, so I've been affectionately referring to it as an erector set. It's not quite accurate, but in any case, the news is that there is a contract on the property now. So the way this works is there is state legislation that allows municipalities to sell city-owned property to a historic preservation nonprofit. It goes with preservation easements or covenants for the protection of the property, and then and that is the legal way that a municipality can sell a property with a negotiated sale rather than going through the upset bid process. And Preservation North Carolina's role, among other things, has been to market the house and find an end purchaser. And so they do now have a contract on the property. And this is all very exciting. Continue to please send all good vibes because it's not done till it closes. The next step is working with the real estate attorneys, both within the city and with Preservation North Carolina, to set up the closing, get all the documents done, and all of that. And that is the news. There are 2 videos available on rhdc.org. There's a Lustron House page that if y'all are interested, you can take a look at. They're short videos, one of the actual move, and one on the history of the property. I think they're around 3-5 minutes long each.
Thank you very much. Any questions? It's good news. It frees up some rotating funds that we do have some control over and gives us a good excuse to make a 3-minute presentation to City Council sometime, patting ourselves, being the City Council, Preservation North Carolina, and RHDC on our efforts. It's an opportunity to explain to City Council that we do something appropriately with the limited funds they give us. And if we had 3 times the funds they give us, we could do 3 times the good things. So I think that would be a good opportunity to share, not just with the City Council, but the people who seem to watch those meetings rather regularly. Nominations has nothing pending. Research. Ian, I think. You have anything from research to report?
We had several requests for reviews. One house in Anderson Heights, which the committee found to not meet the required historical significance, although the owner may attempt to continue the process. 2822 Van Dyke Avenue, the William Hand Brown House. SHPO had some issues with it. As far as that continuing, I'm not sure. Staff, remind me, are we sponsoring that one?
No, that is one that the research committee sent a letter to. It's on the potential Raleigh Historic Landmarks list. And it wasn't the SHPO that had concerns. Okay. It was the consultant in preparing the nomination on behalf of the property owner. There were some questions. And what I heard was that because I feel like there was a light attendance at the meeting and y'all voted to discuss it again in August.
Okay. And 2405 Glenwood Avenue. And we've encouraged the owner to move forward in the process. And next month, I'm assuming that you guys will have a person do a presentation on the Raleigh Confederate Earthworks. Is that right? Next month?
So I brought
executive meeting?
Yeah, I brought that to the executive committee, and they've asked that it be placed on the August agenda. I've emailed to see if the consultant or the person who hired the consultant is available to discuss it. And so hopefully that will be the case.
And just one footnote to the research committee. Susan Singer has agreed to chair that committee. Ian has a bit of an overload at work and other things right now, and asked to remain on the committee, and he's done a great job. And he's asked to bring in Susan, and she's agreed to be the chair going forward. And the rest of the committee will be Harold, Ian, and non-commissioned members. And there are a couple interesting folks that have been on that committee, so they'll be working under Susan's organization for that. Any other questions for research? Community awareness. Community awareness. I don't.
Yes, and this is Erin.
From my memory.
In lieu of Heather here, we don't have any new news to report at the moment. We are going to be meeting at our next meeting with city staff, communications staff, to talk about the future of the RHDC website and what we can do with that if we move it to the city platform.
Yeah, and this, and then we also need to make sure, Colette, that we put, that we put it, this matter of doing our part for the Seaboard on there too, on their agenda. Make sure that gets tickled for them, please.
I will add it to the agenda.
Okay. We'll go forward and do that, and we'll also get back to you on anything that we need help. So we talked about the website. Just be thinking about this. We're going to try to pre-digest the issues for you. In other words, we're going to talk option A, B, and relative advantages of both options. But this is a serious decision because it has obligations and dangers, not dangers, opportunities and adversities in these, which way we go. And there may or may not be a readily clear answer. And we just need to understand what we're getting into. But we definitely need to do something, because right now, our website is being held, for technical reasons, is being held together by Band-Aids and silly putty. So we need to get to a more sure footing, because it's our single most, what we think is the way we reach people now more than ever, is a robust website. And it also is an enormously a good tool for historic preservation. Dorothea Dix.
Excuse me, Gaston. Before
Yes.
we move on, may I say something on community awareness?
Please do.
Okay. I just want to follow up about our response to our decision about the Josephus Daniels house. I've drafted a couple of different types of communications. For some context, we kind of had a special meeting about some of the, I guess, controversy around our recommendation to de-designate the Josephus Daniels house, and kind of decided how we wanted to go about that from a PR perspective, and decided that it was best to maybe queue up some text or copy for different situations that might arise. So I've drafted a couple of items. We looped in former chair Nick Fountain, and who gave some comments about it as well. If anyone wants to be involved in that effort, I'm happy to send it over, kind of have like a working document. Heather's been helping as well. Gaston also provided some comments. So we don't have like a solid plan for when and how we're going to release this, but more just to have it ready.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry I forgot to write that note down. Thank you, Katie, for reminding me.
No worries.
She's drafted, and Nick's giving you some second edits. I think Tanya jumped in on a couple of things. We're basically writing an explanatory position paper in case we're called upon to explain ourselves, although we have no real, in case someone asks, if it comes up, we would have a planned response if needed, and we may make a response even if not needed, to just let everybody know what our role was and was not. And the reason,
right, and kind of anticipating there might be some opposition once the house is actually demolished, that we want to get ahead of in case we wanted to make a press release or social media post, or if we're called on by council for some reason. I'm not sure how likely that would be, but just to be prepared. So if anyone wants to be involved in that, please let me know, and I'd be happy to send over the document.
I think you ought to go on and do that once the new draft that you have, I'll go and send it in case it tickles anybody's concerns. And otherwise, I will put that in the hands of the community awareness and the executive committee to make a decision to have plan to get the commissioners aware of what we might do in their name, but go on and have it loaded and ready, so to speak.
And Tanya here, just to be clear, my only comment was that staff is not commenting on this, but that if you wish to have it placed on your letterhead, we do have that capacity, and we'll do that.
And for the record, this meeting's recorded and obviously reviewable under the sunshine laws of the city and the state. The staff is not permitted to comment on this type of thing for policy reasons, and they have not so far, just to make sure it's clear to everyone who's reviewing this. But yeah, we would like to go on when we get it onto the station area as soon as Katie is comfortable with that, the content.
You know, to add a little history in here, since I guess I'm the history guy to a certain degree, and with the commission, there have been multiple proposals to subdivide that property over the years. And one of the interesting issues is the ghost lot lines in that neighborhood, because that neighborhood was developed where you'd buy 2, 3, 4 lots to put your house on. And interestingly, under North Carolina law, if you have a lot, you by right can put a house on it. So it's going to have a very interesting impact on that community, because I'm sure that building will come down within hours of de-designation. Although I suspect the historic significance designation on that property will have to be moved out of the way for that something to happen too, because it was one of the few properties in Raleigh that was designated as having statewide historic significance. So it's going to open an interesting future for that neighborhood. And I'm sure that we can reasonably anticipate that the neighborhood is not full of introverts. No. In fact, that's one of the few commission meetings I have ever attended where we walked in the door to find television cameras lined up and a crowd in the hallway. So when we have this next meeting where we're called upon to speak, we could ask you to speak and they'll all say, he's back. Yeah, exactly. No, I think you should expect any movement around this property is going to be a large and public thing. Okay. So.
De-designation has already occurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That doesn't mean there won't be a large and interested group still following progress. I'm sure the developers will put tasteful little small bungalows on this property. So on to Dorothy and Dix. Let's see, did I skip anything? We're somebody's attending those meetings on our behalf. Anybody know? Staff, help me.
There's nothing to report for the Dorothea Dix Ad Hoc Committee at this time. That's actually a committee that meets as needed. So we haven't met for a few months, and we can convene if needed in the future.
Yeah, and just so you'll know, we folks who may not be aware, and to remind those who already were aware once, like myself, and need reminding, we kind of monitor the Dorothea Dix aspects of it. We weren't always invited to be full and embedded members of that, but we participate in it. Keep an eye on things from the historic perspective. Certificate of appropriateness. Roche, I don't see anything. I see you. I know you had a meeting, but I don't see anything on my agenda list here.
Yeah, I don't think there was necessarily anything of note that came out of the last meeting. It was an interesting one. Sorry, this is my first time also giving this update as I transition into the chair position for the committee as well. So I just want to say excited to have our new members of the COA committee, and thanks staff for the lighter load this month. I think that'll be good. And this will also be our first meeting in person since the pandemic. So We're gearing up for I think a decent Thursday this week. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say, but I'm hoping Tanya and Aaron and Colette, I have sent you all an email just kind of asking for some notes with regard to Thursday and prep, and then also just maybe in the future, just a little bit of guidance for what I might need to say at these business meetings. So I'll keep an ear out for all.
Yes, we did get that. Clearly not responded yet, but you'll have that before Thursday, probably by the end of the day today.
And we'll have, so you know, the committee chairs typically form part of the basis of the executive committee, and we don't really make decisions for the entire commission except in emergencies. But what we do is kind of pre-digest issues and set the agenda so they can be productive. So our 1-hour meetings never exceed 75 minutes.
Okay.
That's the goal. Other business, any members of the public with us who wish to comment on anything?
No one signed up.
All right, good. Hair goes unscathed. That's good. Raleigh Historic, blah, blah, blah. Report of commissioners, report of staff.
We do have one item. Colette, you want to talk about the Sir Walter Raleigh Award jury?
Sure. So every year, the Appearance Commission puts on a wonderful awards show called the Sir Walter Raleigh Awards. And it did not happen last year, as many things did not, but typically each year we are asked to select one of you to be on the jury to review the nominations and ultimately pick the winners. I think, Ian, do I remember correctly that you were on the jury a couple years ago? So you can provide what your experience was like, but I believe it is September 22nd. I will be a couple hours. Food will be provided, I believe. And yeah, September 22nd from 12 to 4. You'll serve as a juror if you'd like. We have a little bit of time, so you can take time to think about it. We'll put it on next month's agenda as well. But if you're interested, let us know and we'll put your name forward. There will be representatives from other boards and commissions as well, and members from the Appearance Commission will be the predominant makeup of the jury, I believe. But
Colette?
Yeah.
Will you let Janine and I know if we need to help people volunteer, and we'll see who's got a moment of their time to do it or wants to do it, please.
Sure.
Should we lack for, we got volunteers. Oh, John Reese is volunteering. In addition to John Reese and Katie Pate, who else would like to join this effort? Don't be shy. It won't be painful, and they're serving food.
Well, I think they only want one person. And it would be better, I think, if we decided today, since the August meeting is the 17th. Oh, wait a minute. We're in July, aren't we? Never mind. There's plenty of time to decide next month.
Okay.
I'm so confused. But yeah, they're asking for one volunteer. So Gaston, you can give them a way to duke it out, or you get to choose.
No, I'll figure it out. I think we'll go back and ask if we can send 2 first, and then we'll flip a coin. How about that?
Okay, staff will ask.
So let's go back to them and say, is it okay if we send 2 people? We have 2 people that really want to participate in this process, and we'll only vote as 1. We'll see if that solves it. If it doesn't, we'll figure it out. Treasurer's report. I don't think we have, do we have much to report right now?
We don't have much to report other than just, I guess, a clerical update. Our former treasurer, John Henshaw, had been taking on some of for the last year since I've transitioned into the treasury position. He's helped with some of his accounting expertise, but we're setting up a time to kind of fully transition everything over into my hands. And once that's the case, I'm hoping to do some more integrated programming as far as our funding and what we can achieve in that area. So stay tuned. And if anyone has any thoughts about or any suggestions for anything in that area, I'd be happy to discuss.
Okay. Looking on down through your agenda as presented, there are lots of reminders and date significance. Take a peek at those if you would when you get a chance. Tanya, I don't see any other business matters. Am I missing something?
You are not. John's hand is raised though.
Hey, John.
Hey, I got wind of a sensible building and development in the Mordecai community meeting that happens tonight between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. on Zoom. It says that RHDC will be there to kind of explain what people's options are. I didn't see anything on it on this agenda relative to a kind of report back to us as to what happened at that meeting. I don't plan to attend, but I was wondering if that's something that we can get a report on after on next month's
Sure.
agenda.
Sure. Tanya Tully here. I am presenting on as staff for the RHDC. I did not know that's what they were calling it. I am going to be presenting on what historic overlay districts are, what they can do, what they can't do, so that they can, what the process is, so that the community can make an informed decision on what they may want to do. Additionally, comprehensive planning staff happens to be our moderator today, Ira, will be there with me in case they have questions that I cannot answer. I've given a presentation to their Historic Preservation Committee that they have created, and this is to the larger group. It will be on Zoom, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Is any other commissioner have anything else pressing that we need to pay attention to that you know of?
I was curious about that Mordecai meeting tonight. Do you know how that can be accessed in case one of us might want to?
It's a Zoom meeting. I think if you go to their CAC website, I'm assuming there's a link.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Katie, I can forward you the email that I got from one of my friends that lives in that neighborhood.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that.
Perfect.
This is the moderator. I believe it's on their Facebook page.
Thank
If
you.
you search Facebook for Mordecai CAC.
Thank you, moderator man.
Sure.
In closing, this ends the meeting of the July 20th Raleigh Historic Development Commission. Let me just say this: these are not the comments of an over-enthusiastic, extroverted chairman coming in, but I was thrilled to read your resumes. I mean, and when I say you're the perfect commission, you really are. Look at the diversity we have. We're lucky enough only to have one known lawyer and a whole pile of architects and art historians. What a perfect thing. And from London to China to Great Britain to biking across Spain to writing a book to all the things y'all have done. I so believe in the power of respectful collective decision making. I think in my profession as a trial attorney, I saw time and time again how people came together and discussed items, lent each other's opinions and expertise on matters, and reached wonderful decisions. I'm thrilled to be working with you, and I think we will do respectfully fill the large shoes that have been left. So thank you all for your time, and time on this is right at 8:47, 8:46, whatever it is. Farewell to all. Be careful. Curtis, wear your life jacket.
Gaston, I have a
Thanks.
quick question.
Yes.
Will these meetings continue to be virtual, or is there a plan to shift them to in-person?
The voting on this, as I understand it, will have to be brought back up again. At one point, when we thought we had an option to make them hybrids, I think that was the consensus, but I'm not sure. I'll have to revisit that and give you back an answer.
Okay, Tanya Tully here. There's no revisiting. They are in person. And, you know, in person for the commission, in person for staff, in person for attendees. That was the decision of city council.
So pursuant to city-
All boards and commissions from henceforward are in person.
And we'll work out see if there's any caveat all for extreme medical and or personal reasons, but we'll try to figure that out. There may be a hook out, but not to be used routinely. There is one advantage. We have a tradition of someone on a rotating basis bring delightful home baked or purchased pastries or something like it to give you your sugar boost at 7:45 in the morning.
We will start that back. It's called the Golden Donut Award because back in the days of paper, it was printed on goldenrod paper.
And as you all know, all 60 minutes meetings that take 75 minutes in, when everybody either gets hungry, needs to go to the office, or 75 minutes have passed, and I'll intend to try to get within that parameter. Thank you all very much. Sandy, Curtis, nice to have you on board.
Happy to be here.
Y'all do great work.
Thank you so much.
So long from California.
See y'all soon. Have a good day.
See you from Maine.
There we go.
Bye.